All right.
Can you record it? And if you have an extra phone, can you open it on Facebook
It's on
Live?
the live. Yeah, it's Facebook Live.
If you don't have extra phone, that's okay. Okay,
Yeah. I'm doing.
okay.
All right. Thank you for reminding.
Start all over again.
What? All right. So basically, my story is about 2015. I accidentally broke my right elbow. Sorry. Did I mute myself? Can you guys hear me? Okay, good. Accident broke my right elbow and the tricep from the trampoline. So it was accident, but I think it was due to my ego. So I saw one of my friends was doing the forward flip on the trampoline, and I feel it's pretty cool. So I tried to attempt that as well. And I just land on my right arm, and I hear the click sound from my right elbow. And based on my sports experience, I never had a pain like that before. So I know it would be something serious. So I went to the hospital right away and took an X-ray, MRI. So the photo shows my tricep broken and tore a part of my elbow joint apart. So I've been told by doctors that I have to do the surgery. And also the doctor told me, so if I'm lucky enough, I may able have a chance to do the exercise again. But I have a low chance to start to do so I have a low chance able to competing again. So I was pretty shocked when I hear that from doctor. And I hold back my tears until I left the doctor office. So I feel my athlete's career is ended. Obviously, I couldn't accept this fact when I was just 25 years old. So after surgeries, there's nothing getting better. I start to hate my right arm because I couldn't do anything. I couldn't lift any weight. I couldn't even straighten up my elbows. So it's always bending like a 90-degree. And I feel it's very, very useless. So, but I know I have to deal with it if I want to back to the gym, back to the CrossFit at one day. So I start to focus on my rehab training. So I've been seeing the doctor, seeing the physio 2 times a week. And I also did some online research to understand my muscles better. And I bought a rubber band, foam lower, some lightweight to start accessory work, just doing at home. So after 3 months, my right arm almost can straighten up. So I know it was a big achievement for me, and I know it's proof that I was on the right track. So I started getting back to the box and do some weight training, and I'm able to join some class with adjust the movement and the weight. So the next 3 months actually was much easier for me because I'm able to do something that I want to do. And then I have been keeping working on all this stuff, all this accessory work until 11 months. I was finally able to perform my first ring muscle up again. So for now, I just feel I'm lucky enough that I'm still able to train as hard as I can, and I'm still able to go to competitions sometimes. So I wouldn't call my story is a miracle, but I definitely put a lot of effort to get us through the injuries for both mentally and physically. So I think injuries, no one like it. And I believe anyone who trains seriously for a high volume and for the long period of the time is going to risk injuries. So from what I have suffered, I feel there's a few things I can share that help me to get through the injuries. So I think the first one is about your mindset. So you have to stay strong for your mindset, for your mental. So I know it's very frustrating to watch your friends train when you feel stuck. The first 3 months after I hurt my right elbow, I was so jealous, be seeing my peers can do a lot of weight training, get a lot of PR, and they are flying on the rings, but I just can do nothing. So I realized I at the beginning I chose to stay behind and avoid going to the gym, but I realized if I stop training, I'm gonna lose my strength for both injury and the health part. So at the end, I back to the gym and I start to work out on my lower body, my core strength, and other body parts that are still able to function. Okay, so the second point I think is very important is you review your programming and shift your focus. So the common things that I see from my gym is people, they are still keep working out when they're hurt. So I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, but I know some athletes, they just ignore the injury. So they start warming up. Once the pain start to ease a little bit, they start to do whatever they want. But after they cool down, they suffering from the injury even more at the rest of the day. I know it because I used to be this kind of person. So my another serious injury is my left shoulder. I got hurt from my 1-1 max snatch attempt. So before I hurt my left shoulder, actually I got a signal from my left shoulder for a while. Once I did a lot of keeping, a lot of shoulder external rotate movement, I can feel the pain on my left shoulder here and there, but I didn't raise my attention until I got a serious injuries. So right now, I start to take care of my shoulder. I put the weights away and just use the empty bar to do some lightweight training or just focus on my form, my techniques. My shoulder, my left shoulder is getting a lot better now. So, but I still listen to my body. So whenever I put too much training volume on my left shoulder, I can still feel the pain. So I would just adjust my programming accordingly and to prevent any more injuries on my shoulder again. So that's my second point, that you're gonna review your programming and shift the focus when you have the injuries. All right. And the last point I think is also very important is learn from your experience and stay humble. So here I would like to show you guys a chart that I oh, sorry, the technique error. Let me find it if I can have this chat on my iPad. All right, so this is the chart that I want to show you guys. So you can see at the beginning, it's a straight line that increase very fast. All right, so this is how we start the CrossFit. So when we start the CrossFit at the first 6 months, you will feel your progress really fast because everything is new to us. All right, so you can unlock a lot of skills. You can feel like you hit PR many times over and over again. And after 6 months, then you will feel that you can see that the curve is getting much flatter. So I think the second curve, it shows, I think most of us that we have already unlocked the most of the movements and you feel like you're starting on your 1-round max numbers for a while. Sometimes you couldn't even hit your last PR. And you start to question yourself: is you still getting stronger, or is still working hard enough? And I know most of athletes that they feel very frustrating to accept the fact. So they start to loading up the volume, loading up the weights on the training. And however, they didn't notice that the line between pushing themselves extremely hard is also a line that also a line to risk of the injuries. Because I also had this same experience as well. So my tips for this one, I think you should put your ego stay behind and analyze as your programming, your form, and your goal again. So if you think it's too hard to do it by yourself, you can feel free to talk to one of coach that you trust, and go into each session that with the goals that are ambitious but achievable. So be realistic that what you can do and what you cannot do yet. So these are my tips that I feel it's work, it's help on me to deal with and get through the injuries. So now I will pass to my friend Ryan. He's so for some of you guys joining the topic late. Ryan is the visual specialist at the John Dynamic. All right, so I invite him join my topic today. Just share some professional knowledge from his background. So if you guys have any question, can ask us later when we open the floor for Q&A. So hey, Ryan.
Hey guys, how you going? All right. Hey, thanks, Alan, for inviting me to come and speak. So Alan did send me, a couple of questions that he thought that you guys would be interested in hearing about. And I think they're very common questions that I think all CrossFitters would like to hear about. So the first one was, how does CrossFit kind of cause injuries like shoulder, knee, and like back pain? And so I think going back to like what Alan was saying was that you need to understand kind of what your body is capable of doing. You need to understand that like everybody's body has like a limit of how much load, of how much exercise they can actually tolerate. And it's a very fine line. Like if you're training really hard and you're still recovering well, like that's fine. If you're training really hard and like getting little niggles here and there, you're probably just on the border of how much your body can actually handle. Now, if you push it that much further, like you said, maybe it's like the ego kind of getting in the way and you want to hit those PRs every single time you hit in. One day you're going to push the limit and that's going to become an injury per se. So I think the primary goal of that is like just to understand that your body does have a limit and you do need to respect that as well. Now, generally, we would also say that your recovery needs to be prioritized as well. So, if you're feeling like your nervous system or your muscles or your joints or your tendons are like super sore after training, you do need to give it that rest and like respect your body for that. All right. But if we're talking specifically about like joints, then we want to say that we probably want to start thinking about like other parts of the body that's potentially contributing to, let's say, your shoulder being hurt. And so generally it's going to be like a mobility or a strength issue somewhere else that's causing your injured joint to become painful. So like if we take, for example, like knee pain, I would say that actually more than 75% of knee pain actually doesn't originate in the knee itself. It's normally either from an ankle or a hip that's causing the knee to become painful. So I think that's quite an important point to actually understand, is that a lot of the times wherever you get the pain, it's not necessarily the cause of the pain. It's normally something else that's influencing it in the movement patterns that you guys do. That's actually kind of like, I guess, like targeting the weak link. And the weak link is normally like your knee or your shoulder or your spine. And then for like, let's say for back pain, I would say it's normally like either your hips again, or your thoracic spine. That's probably putting a little bit too much pressure on your spine. So you know, that the focus there is, I guess, just on, rather than thinking specifically about, oh, my knee's painful, my knee must be the thing that's causing my pain, you need to start looking elsewhere as well, like whether it's your ankle or whether it's your hip, that's actually contributing to your pain. Because the thing is, like, you could probably rest for a couple of weeks and then your knee pain will settle. But then if you go back into doing snatches or running or box jumps without actually addressing what was the cause of it in the first place, you're actually just going to hurt yourself again. And it's going to become something a little bit more chronic down the line. And that's actually quite harder to treat. And then when it comes to the shoulder, it gets even more complex. Like, there's so many things that can actually cause or contribute to people getting shoulder pain. You know, it could be like the lumbar spine, it can be the thoracic spine, it can be your neck, it can be like your hips, can be your ankle, because the shoulder itself is very mobile. So there's loads of different things that can actually cause pain in the shoulder. So I guess in the sport of like CrossFit itself, like there's so many movements that, you know, that are just so complex and requires a lot of mobility. So if we take like a snatch, for example, or toes to bars or handstand push-ups, you know, you do need a lot of good mobility, especially through your shoulder, through your thoracic spine again. And the thing is, if you don't actually have the mobility, the strength, stability, you're actually putting yourself at risk of overloading and pushing your body past the limit, like what Alan was talking about before. You have to understand your limit. So I think that's, again, like quite important to understand, is that a lot of the movements you guys do in CrossFit is super complex. You know, you don't just do weightlifting only, you do weightlifting, you do running, you do calisthenics. There's so much stuff that you guys do. So you guys need to be, I think, extra careful about like making sure that you're doing your mobility, you're doing your accessories, whatever your coaches give you, do it because they know what they're talking about. So I think that's just like a really brief overview of like how people can potentially get injuries in CrossFit. It's just like very complex, and you need to be able to understand that your body has a certain limit. All right. And if you push over that limit, that's when you get hurt. Now, when it comes to things like how can you prevent an injury, what I think is more important is that you need to understand the movement that you're having difficulty with. Like especially the movements that you're having difficulty with. So like, let's say you always have problems doing toes to bars, or you always have problems doing snatches. You know, you should probably like grab one of the coaches that you trust, like Alan, say, hey, Alan, I've got an issue with my toes to bar. Every time I do toes to bars, my shoulder hurts like right here. Could I book in a session with you for you to actually have a look at my technique, and then have a look at my mobility and see what I need to work on, so I can actually do that as an accessory to help with my performance and to reduce my risk of injury. I think that's probably the number one thing that I would actually suggest you guys to do, because your coaches are the experts and they'll know exactly what requirements you need for the movement and how to do it properly and what exercises to do to help to fix it, essentially. Now, if you're one of those special people where they can't figure out what's going on, then please, please, please reach out to me, and I'm absolutely more than happy to give you guys some help as well. Now, most, like we talk more generally, like most of the time it's going to be a mobility issue that's causing a lot of people's problems. So mobility, and we talk about like thoracic spine being a huge thing. So, you know, everyone kind of sits in the computer like this at home. So that's flexion. But what you need more, especially if you're doing a lot of snatches and overhead work, is actually extension. Yeah, so that's a huge thing, especially when it comes to shoulder pain. So if you want to have good shoulder function, you must make sure that you've got a good thoracic spine extension as well. Okay, so like doing lots of mobility work, especially for thoracic extension, is going to do you a whole lot of good as well in there. And then like, let's say we take a toes to bar, for example, you know, we're using it as an example a lot. You need to make sure you have enough shoulder flexion, which is lifting your arm up above you. You need to have enough thoracic extension. You need to have good core control, and you need to have really good straight arm strength to actually initiate the toes to bar. So again, like you might be thinking, oh my God, that's like so many different things. How do I figure it out? That's why I reckon like grab your coach, sit down with him, or like book a session with him and say, hey, listen, can you look at my technique, and can you assess my strength and my mobility and see where I'm not doing so well? And then they will be able to tell you what you need to work on. And then like for other movements in general, like body weight stuff or like weightlifting stuff, you need to probably start looking at your hips, do a lot of hip mobility stuff. So working into hip flexion and rotation as well. because I find that those areas are very commonly neglected, and they actually will lead to either knee pain or back pain. And those are also two of the more common injuries that people get in CrossFit. So that's what I would say for like prevention of injuries. It's like understanding the movement. If you don't understand it, grab your coach, ask him to help you out. And then also just making sure that you work on your mobility, very importantly. And I would say as a general rule, you should probably be doing thoracic extension drills, do shoulder flexion drills, and actually make sure you do hip flexion drills as well. Because those are the three things that's probably going to be helping multiple movements at the same time. So if you want bang for your buck, you just work on those three. And I'm sure that your coaches or even myself can show you a couple of different mobility things to do. Now, I think the last question was, how do I get, or what's some like tips that you can get for people who hate doing mobility and stretching?
I know a lot of people, they when you tell them, they said, oh, you need to do more mobility work, you need to work on accessory.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then one day and the second day, the feel is, oh, it's so bad. And then they give up.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you know what the thing is, like, I'm the same as well. Like, I'm quite lazy. You never hardly see me stretching and doing mobility, but I do it very little bits. But what I find very helpful with my clients is that, you know, rather than saying, oh, you need to do this 3 times a day, you try and kind of like incorporate it into their day-to-day life that's more manageable. So like, you know, let's say right now I'm actually just sitting on the floor, you know, at home, I could just get on my tummy and actually just work on doing some of this. That's going to help with my lumbar spine, and that's going to help with my thoracic extension as well. You know, so I think it's about trying to find drills or exercises that you can do that fits into people's lifestyles, you know. So again, another common one I do with my clients who I see with a lot of neck pain, because now everyone's working at home, is I literally just get them to do this at home. So rather than sitting like this at the computer all the time, I literally just get them to do this at home, where they're actually helping to improve their neck posture, and they can do it while they're actually working. And so I would find that the compliance is a lot better like that, because it's easier for them to do. Like, I think it's about making it easy for people to do. It doesn't take a lot of time, so they don't really have an excuse not to do it. But then on the other spectrum as well, like what Alan said, is that it's a lot about your mindset as well. Like, if you're committed to helping your injury and your body for the long term, you need to put in the time and effort to do it. Just like how Alan got back from his like major injury, like you have to put in the time, you have to put in the effort, you have to commit to it, you know, and it takes patience. It takes patience. You have to like trust the process, that kind of stuff. You really do. And if you actually put your mind to it, you will see progress, maybe not in a week, maybe not in 2 weeks, but probably in like 6 weeks, in 12 weeks. But you do need to stick with it. So I think the takeaway from that, I guess, is number one, make stuff easy and doable and like quickly accessible. Doesn't take too much time. They can do it at home. But then when you get into the box, you make sure that you get in there maybe 5 or 10 minutes earlier, and then you do whatever Alan told you to do to help with your toaster bars or your snatches, or you do whatever Wes told you to do to help with your squats. Because then again, you build that routine, and once it becomes a routine, it becomes more of a habit, and then it becomes like this. Every time you go into the gym, you do your mobility, you do your accessories, and then you do your WOD, and then you stay healthy. Like, I think that's a much better compliance measure. So you can give that a try. Yeah.
Good tips.
So I hope that helps. But again, of course, like if you guys have any questions, either feel free to reach out to me, or, you know, grab your coaches. I reckon they'll be the best ones to kind of help you through injuries that you guys might be dealing with, be it a block of pain, or be it like, oh, I can't seem to increase my squat, I can't seem to increase my snatch. Can you please help me? Can I please book in a session with one of your coaches, and then just get them to assess how you're doing and come up with some mobility stuff. So, or whatever it is that you need to do.
All right. Thank you, Ryan.
No worries.
I think the tips is very useful for me, and I think for our members as well. I'm a person that doesn't like the mobility work as well. But I think one thing that you mentioned is very important is the schedule, and also the place that doable, achievable.
Yeah.
to do that movement. So I think maybe just 1 a day or 2 a day, and doesn't need to be a lot of reps. Just simple 10 reps of 2 sets. But if you keep on going, keep doing it by daily basis, I can tell it's definitely help you to improve for sure.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree.
All right, so we open the floor for Q&A. If you guys have any question, you can feel free to ask me or Ryan. You can just unmute yourself, or you can type in the question in the chat room.
I guess everyone's injury free then, eh?
Hi, this is Kath.
Hello, nice to meet you. How you going?
Hi, Ryan. So I want to ask from a physio perspective, say after a workout, I feel like my shoulder is clicking real weirdly, or like I pulled my muscle. What do you recommend me to do? Like right away? Should I stretch? Should I smash? Should I ice it? Or what should I do?
All right, so the question was, after you work out, you're feeling that your muscles are, or your joints are a bit clicky and a little bit sore. What I would actually say is that I would look towards the stability of your muscles. Like there must be a reason why after a workout, your joints become clicky. And then to me, that just sounds like maybe there's actually a little bit of instability through your joints. Like very commonly that would be for the shoulder joint. Maybe your rotator cuff muscles are actually fatiguing halfway or 3/4 of the way throughout your workout, and then they don't end up stabilizing your joints very much anymore. And so that's typically when people will get clicky joints. So what I would actually recommend for you is that actually before your workout, I would be doing some rotator cuff or scapular stability work. And then actually after your workout, I would work on maybe just like getting a lacrosse ball, getting stuck into some of the areas, probably at the back of your shoulder. Yeah, those are the ones that's probably going to be a little bit tight. But I would really focus on actually before your workouts, getting a good 5 or 10 minutes of scapular stability and rotator cuff stability work happening. And I think I've shown Alan a couple, so I'm sure he can share some with you as well. But I'm totally on the page of you need to work on stability. If you're feeling and hearing a lot of clicking, there is something unstable going on in there and it needs to be stabilized, not necessarily like loosened. Because if you make it even looser, it will probably end up clicking a bit more. So work on stability before the workout and work on the endurance of the stability muscle so that it can actually maintain stability throughout your WOD rather than it fatiguing halfway through and then end up being really clicky at the end. That's what I reckon.
Thank you, Ryan. So there's a question from the chat room. What's the best thing to do pre and post the workout? Stretch, foam rower, easy anaerobic, or leg ball band. So what's your suggestion for pre and post the workout?
I think like as a very general rule, like just judging by the way like human activity is that most people will come into the box either like in the morning when they've just woken up, or maybe after sitting at the desk, they've come in at a lunchtime class, or they're coming in an evening class after sitting down for a long period of time. So then what I would say is that you really want to start off doing some mobility work. So again, doing a lot of thoracic extension drills, especially there's going to be some overhead work in the workout. Some very nice ones that you can do just like really simply with a foam roller. You just put your back on here and you just think about arching over it backwards, just to really help get some thoracic extension. That's going to be a really good one. I personally would hardly tell people to stretch, especially before a workout, because I just don't believe in it. I don't believe in the value of stretching because it's very passive and it's like loosening your muscles. Whereas when you do a WOD, you want to be active. So I like to be very active in my warm up per se. So thoracic extension is good, and doing a lot of core stability would be really good as well, because once your core is warmed up, you can actually move your extremities a lot better. Once you have a solid foundation, you can move your extremities a lot better and safer. So core workout, thoracic extension, and I would say if you have any specific areas of mobility limitations, be it your shoulder or your hip, you want to grab Alan or grab Wes and say, hey, listen, my shoulders are really tight or my hips are really tight. Can you please show me a really quick hip opening drill or a shoulder opening drill I can do before my workout so that I can perform better in my workout and I can look after my body better. So typically it will be like a hip or a shoulder. Most people are quite stiff in those two areas. So work on those, thoracic extension and some core work. Get those done before your workout and your workout will be much better. After your workout, you can do whatever you want. Like, again, I don't really tell people to stretch. You can maybe like just sit on the air bike for a little bit to like cool down, or you can work on mobility, or you can work on the accessories that you didn't get time to do. So that's what I would recommend.
So Ryan, so how long you think the cool down is necessary for
so I think the cool down is definitely important, right? The cool down is definitely important, and I think it's very person specific. I think that it's definitely worthwhile to actually spend probably like 5 minutes to maybe 7 minutes where you're actually allowing your body to gradually ramp down, especially after doing a very high intensity workout in your WOD. And that can be something like some general mobility drills. That can be something like stretching. That's probably the only time I would say if you want to do stretching, go and stretch after your workout. Or it can just be like a very light, easy cardio where you're probably working at like 50 or 60% of your max heart rate kind of range. So like very green kind of range, like not intense at all. That's when you just want your heart rate to get back down to closer towards your normal resting heart rate. Yeah.
Okay, there's another question at the chat room. So when I do weightlifting, I feel I use the strength of my right arm more. But if I intended to use my left arm, the form wouldn't be good. So the result is my right arm sometimes feel overloaded and painful. Is there any way that I can change?
Any way you can change. All right. So you find that your right arm gets overloaded. Okay. So then I guess it comes back to what I was talking about before, which is, I think it's quite complex, because what you would need to do is you would need to figure out what's the weak link in your body. And it's not going to be your right arm, all right? It's going to be something else in your body that's generally causing your right arm to work that little bit harder. And over time, if you keep doing that without figuring out what's going on, your right arm will probably get to that limit of injury, and it will probably go into a niggle and then probably go into an injury. So what I would say for you is that you probably need to look at maybe your left glute, or your right glute potentially as well, and you want to have a look at maybe your left ankle mobility as well. Have a look at what's going on in the left side. Now, if you can't really find anything there, do the same on the right side. But look at thoracic extension, look at hip mobility, look at glutes, and look at ankles. That's what I would reckon.
And for the training wise, because I have same problem, my right arm is much stronger than my left side. So even when I do the weightlifting, the snatch, or the clean, I can feel my right arm is always pull a little bit faster than my left side. Yep. So I think that's a good thing. You already realize that you have a strong side and a weak side. What I feel is quite useful is while doing the single side movements, I increase the reps for my weak arm. And if you already feel that the right shoulder overloaded and painful sometimes, I think you definitely need to work on the mobility work. So I think all the shoulder, like active hold and external rotate with the band, all these things I feel is quite helpful for my shoulders.
Totally agree. Yeah, single arm stuff, single leg stuff. Definitely make time in your gym days or your accessory days to really focus on actually balancing up, right versus left, because naturally everybody is going to have one side stronger, one side weaker. You just don't want the difference to be so big that it ends up overtaking movements like snatches, squats.
No one to be perfect for the both sides, I think.
No one's going to be absolutely perfect. Absolutely zero chance. Yeah.
All right. Good question. Thank you, Dan.
Hi, Ryan. I just want to find out if, let's say after a workout, we feel tightness in an area, or maybe it just doesn't feel right. When would you use a hot versus a cold compression?
Okay, great question. So I guess the question was like, after working out, sometimes your muscles feel tight, right? And then the second part was, should you use hot or cold? So I think like with the most recent research, there actually isn't too much difference between hot or cold. I would recommend that you use whichever one you feel more comfortable for you or more beneficial for you. But as a general rule, like if it's immediately after the workout, like let's say you're still in the gym, I would probably lean towards using more an ice pack or a cold compression. However, if it's that night, like you get home, you're like, oh wow, my calves are really sore, then you might want to use a hot pack, because that's a little bit later on after your workout. So again, bottom line is it doesn't really matter. Both have been shown to be helpful, but if it's immediately after your workout, ice. If it's a couple of hours later, maybe grab a hot pack. But I would also want to make sure that if it's consistently getting tight after a particular workout, let's say it's consistently getting tight after doing loads and loads of double unders, I would have a look at why is it being tight after double unders, right? Is it a strength issue or is it a mobility issue? And now with muscular tightness, it's typically a muscle weakness issue rather than muscles being tight. They get tight because they're weak. So probably need to strengthen it.
Yeah. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you, Wilson. Any question? Oh, Sue has a question. Yes, please.
Is it okay to foam roll your injured area? Like if it's swollen, should I still foam roll it?
Okay, so I think that's very much like a case-by-case basis, but like as a very general rule, if it's swollen, I probably wouldn't roll it. But if it's just like sore or like a little bit painful, what I would say is try rolling it. If it makes it worse to roll, stop it. If it makes it feel better, keep going. But then maybe just check in with one of the coaches and say, hey, like my shoulder hurts after I do this. What do you reckon I should do? So, and like most people would ask me, can they stretch or can they foam roll? And I'll typically say, do whatever you want as long as it doesn't make it worse. Like then that's absolutely okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
I have one question, Ryan. Hot compress or cold compress? I mean, we have heard a lot of different story about you should be doing cold compress and then, or you should be doing hot compress. So which one is more effective actually?
So again, I think it comes back down to the question before. It's like, which one, I guess, would you feel more comfortable using? Like me personally, if it was, you know, immediately after a workout, I would definitely be jumping on the ice compress, definitely. However, if it's maybe later during the day, or if it's actually a chronic thing that you're suffering with, I would say leaning more towards actually a hot compress, using more heat to improve some circulation, because that's normally like one of the things that's actually causing that tightness or that discomfort. So ice if it's immediately after, and heat if it's like later during the day, or if it's something that's a bit more chronic. And when we say chronic, it means something that you've dealt with for a longer period of time. So I hope that helps.
Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you.
All right, I think we are about it to finish the topic. Thank you guys for your time, and thank you, Ryan, joining our topic today. I hope all the tips that may give you guys a little bit of help for the daily training and also the injury recovery rehab. All right, thank you guys.
Thanks everyone. Thanks for
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you guys. Have a good one.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.